To Trust the Process live. I'm a big believer in omens. We'll get into what that means and what that has shown on Sunday. Admittedly, I didn't get to watch as much football as I would have liked yesterday, but as always, I'm your host, James Hyden, here with my guys, the man of digits, the man of many digits, and 5 digits now, Max?
I don't know. It changes every week.
Just 5.
How you doing, though, man?
On one hand, yesterday was brutal. On the other hand, I got to sleep in as late as I want because I'm on a little holiday from the work life right now. So, life's all about balance.
Beautiful. And the man, YG, young gentleman, James Jackson. What's up, pal? How are you?
I'm doing great, and looks like the Eagles are finally about crawling back to their nests a little bit, coming back down to earth. You had a nice 7 days of being a playoff team, and it all came crashing down.
It was fun while it lasted. You can never take that.
You'll never get it. Yeah, right. Never take it away from you. Absolutely.
I talked a little bit about omens, and it might have been. We won't call it an omen. We'll call it a little bit of foreshadowing some of our previous discussions on this show, and I think we'll circle back.
That's what we deserve.
Don't get greedy.
Checking out the script.
Don't get greedy.
But our first question here, boys, in the main event. Other than the obvious answer, I don't. Let's take Jalen Hurts off the table. I don't want to hear any Jalen Hurts. Who do we blame this loss on? JJ, I'm gonna come to you first.
I mean, if I can't blame Jalen Hurts, I'm just going to go with the next most obvious one then, and it's Jalen Reagor, because I'm not really sure who else deserves that much of a blame, to be honest. I mean, like there were points where your defense could have played better, could have played more disciplined, but at the end of the day, you held the Giants to, under 20 points. So it's, I expect my offense to score more than that to beat the Giants. And it's just that type of game yesterday that I watched boils down to, can I make more plays than the opposite team? This game is ugly. No team is pulling away. It's 10-0 for the majority of the game. Can I make a play at the end of the game that the other team doesn't, or can I stop them when they do? And those Jalen Reagor opportunities, those are the plays to make that'll give us that 6 to 7 point victory at the end of the game, going out of there, escaping with a win on the road against a really bad Giants team who the only reason that they're in this game with us is because we're a division opponent and they kind of get up for this game. But if I'm not going to blame Jalen Hurts, which really is the only person I really want to blame for yesterday, I'm going to have to go and blame the guy. Bless you, Sir Banners. I'm going to have to go and blame the guy who dropped, 2 would-be touchdowns. And by the way, why I also want to blame Jalen Hurts is we can blame Jalen Reagor all we want for not catching that pass at the end of the game, as we should. Rewind the tape back, gentlemen. Your number one pick, the Heisman Trophy winner, is running down the sideline, the left side. When I say wide open, it was the pass to win the national championship game that he caught from Jalen Hurts. It was the same spot, same play.
Bro, you got to listen to directions. I said no Jalen Hurts, bro.
It's bad, but I really want to. I know. I really want to. But I really want to. Because Matt, you can't say that. The only reason you're going to say somebody else is because you have to. But 90% of this blame goes to Jalen Hurts, man.
I almost feel bad for even saying that Reagor deserves. I mean, obviously, let's not kid ourselves here, right? Like the one at the very end of the game is pretty blatant. I will say this: the one that hit him in the helmet on the left side, it looked like he got a little shoved in the back, like that classic, like you go up for a read a little bit. It looked like that in slow motion. I don't think you can give him the real pass card for that or the real time pass for that. But I think in slow motion, it kind of looks like that. That when you're jumping up for a rebound, you kind of get that formed like the lower part of your back, just to kind of throw your center and grab.
Moves your eyes a little bit.
Kind of like that. That's kind of what it looked like to me. But the one at the end of the game, totally irredeemable, right? I obviously am not allowed to blame Jalen Hurts for per the parameters of this question. But I will say is that certain decisions made earlier in the game would make it so you're dealing with a potential tie game at that point in time, and you're not so desperate for an end zone shot. That's all I'm saying.
You guys are like the people who study for like one question on the test.
You're damn right.
It's like a multiple choice answer, and you show your work for a multiple choice answer. Like you don't need to do
out of that question. Fine. I'll say this: like it's on Reagor on an individual level. I think that a lot of things didn't go great for the Eagles yesterday. So there's not a loss like this where you can just simply blame one person because, let's not kid ourselves here. The offense was sputtering. Quarterback play was bad. Play calling was here and there at some points. They got absolutely killed by offensive penalties at crucial moments, especially in the first half before Kelsey was able to come back in the game. And JJ, you touched on this, right? Like this is an ugly game. Like good teams, playoff teams, like they find ways to beat their bad divisional rivals, right? Like even if it is in a terrible, ugly 14-10 manner, right? Like you figure out ways.
The Ravens last night.
The Eagles had every chance to still win that game, despite how bad that they played, and they weren't able to do it. And that does kind of have to temper your hype level, your expectation, and it does make you kind of eat crow on all those conversations we had on air a week ago. And it's at this point it is what it is, and it sucks to have to blame somebody. I would say this is more of a total team failure that's just magnified and amplified by what happened in the last minute of the game.
And the reason for me, really quick, Brandon, is why it's so hard to blame anybody else but Jalen Hurts is I agree with you 100%, Max. Like everyone's got to look at the tape from yesterday and pick five things they didn't do well and fix for next time. But I do think it kind of started with the quarterback play, and the stuff that you touched on kind of was a domino effect of it. The play calling was here or there. My quarterback's playing terrible. How well can I call plays? I even think like you go down the line with with the receiving play, the offensive line play, the defense even made a play, came up with a turnover. Like I think a lot of it starts from what the quarterback play. That's the most glaring part. It's the first domino to fall in all of this.
Max, you said it right. This is definitely a team loss, but to me, this was a lot of Sirianni ignoring what he did right to him, and I almost think and a lot of people make a joke out of this, but back in the early 2000s with Mike Tyson and Randy Moss in Minnesota, something developed called the Randy ratio, and a lot of jokes are made about it. Like Randy Moss needed, I think it was something like 45 to 50% of the target shares. Coaches nowadays are they're so young and they're so I don't even know how to describe this, but they outsmart themselves way too much.
Yeah,
if I'm looking at these,
here, I'm going to agree preemptively.
What's that?
I said I think I know what you're getting at here. I'm going to agree preemptively.
They're trying to outsmart themselves. So Devontae Smith, like it or not, needs a ratio. He needs some kind of target share that needs to happen every single game. When I'm looking at these targets, Kenny Gainwell has the same amount of targets as Devontae Smith. In no game, in no situation, you can play out any scenario on the Madden simulator you like. There should not be a game where Kenny Gainwell has the same targets as Devontae Smith, and if they do, they damn sure better be 10 targets each, which is that Devontae Smith
should be a career day for Gainwell, not a slow day for Smith.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
If Devontae Smith has 4 catches and Jalen Reagor has 4 targets and Jalen Reagor has 7, something's wrong. That's not kosher to me. So to me, he outsmarted himself because things are going right. So a lot of times when things are going right, you can get in your own head and say, okay, things are going right. How can I make what's already going well even better? And then you forget about what's going well, or you just completely ignore it. To me, this is just a classic example of, and again, the argument, first-year head coach, everything like that, he's still learning. But come on, you can't let Devontae Smith have 4 targets and Jalen Reagor have 7. That's counterintuitive to everything we know about football.
Especially and going offensively challenged.
Right, and going to your point, I think we've seen Jalen Hurts, some of his best moments have been targeting Devontae Smith. You could see the natural connection that's been there. I don't understand the hesitancy in maximizing that. I don't care if people know that it's coming. Like this ball should be force fed to Devontae Smith probably to start every quarter.
He's so good it doesn't matter.
It should go there.
He's good enough. It doesn't matter if they know there's coming.
And I think it just helps Jalen Hurts with naturally just building that chemistry of knowing where Devontae is going to be on the field. Because if they have a natural chemistry, if I got one last play to win the game, my number 1 draft pick is my first option. That's what I'm looking at first. And if he looks at Devontae Smith first, he probably sees him break open. Like I know he had to scramble. I know he trying to buy some time to get to the left of that play.
But when I scramble to the left too, man, that's what. Oh.
I know.
And that's even worse, right? As soon as I fix my eyes, that's the problem with Banners. It's I'm talking myself into wanting to blame him just even more, because if I scramble and then fix my eyes, my first thought is find Devontae. And if I find Devontae and he's not open, then we go to to option 2, 3, and 4 after that. I got one play to win the game, and Devontae's one-on-one. I got to find him first, whatever I do. And he didn't. He threw a jump ball to Jalen Reagor, who had already dropped one.
So we have nobody wants to blame any. I mean, I guess we can't.
I know
really...
what we're trying to do here with the guy on the bottom left of the screen. I know what we're trying to do here, and at this point, you're beating a dead horse. Like I'm done with that discussion.
Yesterday wasn't Howie. Yesterday you can blame the product on the field. You cannot blame Howie for. You can just blame the product on the field for yesterday.
Exactly.
I'm pretty good at the spin
Howie's
zone.
safe without this one.
I'm pretty good at the spin zone, but I don't know if I can
spin
it
to
be
Justin
Howie.
Jefferson probably catches that ball at the end of the game. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt until the dude's out of the league. Like I'm done talking about it at this point. It sucks even more that every week I have to come on here and get reminded by a fan of the team that that profited off my misfortune.
I've been pretty nice.
For the most part, you have. Not this year, yes. Last year, no.
I wasn't even going to bring it up today.
We are officially approaching redacted territory with the Reagor Justin Jefferson thing. Like this is the Ben Simmons free throw discussion for me. It's quickly approaching that territory. And every week I'm reminded. Every week I'm like, damn, even the Vikings don't use Justin Jefferson as much as they should, and we could have been misusing him instead. Like it hurts. It hurts seeing another team misuse a star wide receiver when you could be doing it, and at least I would have his jersey.
They're misusing him into 1,000-yard season somehow.
Road leads back to this. Every week the road leads back.
To be honest, Max, I wasn't even going to. I've made you atone for this so many times, and I wasn't
exactly.
It felt too easy today.
I didn't even go that route.
I didn't even go.
Is there any? Do we put any blame on the defense? They held him to 13 points, but like
I find it hard to put any blame on an NFL defense that holds your opponent to
and got to take away.
Yeah, the final score is 13, but I mean, let's be honest, it was 10-0 going into the fourth.
Right.
It still finishes at 13. The defense
that's an incredibly turnover prone. I'm not trying to say there is.
No, you're right. I guess if I'm not going to blame the defense, but it was a little bit. I mean, the Giants always do this with Daniel Jones. They always seem to know when to call quarterback runs, like design quarterback runs to kind of mess with the D-line. And the D-line wasn't able to get to him on passing downs yesterday. And there was a lot of there were a lot of blitzes. There was at least 2 blitzes I can remember on third and medium, like 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, and both were crossing routes, like underneath crossing routes. The Giants' shitty offensive line gave them just enough time for the underneath crossing route to develop. One was to the left, one was to the right. They both were 3rd and mediums, and like that kind of stuff is what hurts, and ultimately is the difference in a terrible low scoring game. But it's hard to find the blame word. Like yes, if it was a flawless defensive performance, those blitzes would have got home, and the game would have been 0-0 or 7-7, right?
But here's the thing, Max. I can point out a lot of maybe not flawless defensive performances, but I can point out a lot of above average, really good to great defensive performances where the team scored 13 points. Like it's the NFL. Like the ball is going to find the end zone or find its way through the uprights maybe once or twice a game. But holding a team to 13 points on the road, I know everything is subjective and there's levels, but there are pretty much any team you hold to 13 on the road. Like I need you to win that game.
Agreed. I guess that's the bottom line. I agree, but it's certainly tough, and it's not even like one last thing. It's not even like I don't want to say this. It's not even like the conditions were so bad, right? It's not like this was like affected by weather or affected by injury or anything like that. Like, the Giants put up a stinker less than a week ago. Like, you knew they weren't going to be that bad again, probably.
And that's where I was going. That's where my last comment was going. I think we probably should have expecting this. At least not having like a 3 to 5 turnover game with the firing of the Clapper. It seems whenever bad teams fire coaches, they come back with at least a inspired performance enough to not get absolutely shell shocked the next week. So I guess I can see it. Boys, our next question here. This kind of falls in the realm of outliers. And when we look back at the end of the season, when the season ends, when Week 18, Game 17, I hate that. When that ends, are we going to look back at this Eagles season, and is this going to be an outlier for them, or is this kind of going to be a tone setter for the rest of the season? Because we talked last week a lot about running the table and what that would mean, and how we all kind of expected. I won't say trap games, but I think we all thought that game that would be like tough, a really tough game to watch, but they would end up falling to be the Redskins. And it happened earlier. So, Max, is this kind of what we're going to see, or outlier?
I mean, it's tough. I mean, obviously it's going to be results dependent on what actually happens here, but it definitely is worrying that they frankly just came out flat in this game. Like I guess it's easy, right? Like when you're finding success, and let's be honest here, they were coming off a pretty notable win in terms of the context of their season. Like this is totally fit the definition of a trap game. But on the other hand, it was, it wasn't like this team's been cruising all year, and this is another bad opponent. Like they've gone through their fair share of struggles. So I thought, seeing this stretch of easy games, I said this before, like there's no way they were going to run that whole table, right? But I did think that this first game being a division game after such a productive but relatively tough stretch in terms of travel and teams involved in that kind of thing, I thought they'd be able to get at least one more one more, I don't want to say, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but an effort they could be proud of, I guess, is the easiest way to put it. Like I don't know the word, I'm blanking on that right now, and they weren't, right. So I think that this will be a tone setter in a positive direction. Like I think that they'll realize that you come out, you play sloppy, you get. I think honestly, the big thing in this game was penalties for me. Like I feel like that every time there was something positive, there was some kind of shot in the foot. Penalties are usually what leads to that. So I think that they can learn a lot from this game, right? Like you have to obviously take all these teams like the Jets, and now you have another game against the Giants coming up. You have 2 against the Washington football team. Like all those games are very easily losable now, and they should know that. And hopefully that can be a positive.
The penalties seem to be like a common theme throughout the season. Like a lot of them, and a lot of dumb, like
they're usually untimely.
I was about to say the inopportune times that they happen.
But like it's like I don't want to call. At the beginning of the season, I called them fixable, but like I don't know if I can call them fixable anymore because they haven't been fixed.
I mean, they'd been all right the last couple of weeks. They had gotten it down to a much more modest level, but I honestly, I feel like I don't know this. I'll look this up on my phone. I'm going to predict that the raw penalty numbers aren't going to be so bad, but when you realize that an offensive holding takes a touchdown off the board that then leads to an interception in the red zone, like that's the kind of stuff that raw numbers won't show you. So I'm going to get back to you. Give me 1 second here. I'll see.
JJ, outlier, or does this now set a tone for the last 6 weeks?
I'm like somewhere in the middle because I expected the Eagles to kind of, take lumps in this back end of the season, even though the schedule looked favorable to them. I was with Max. At no point did I think they were going to run the table, but I do think the Eagles are like I think they're capable of tough wins. We've seen them win tough games that we didn't think they were going to win, and losing to the Giants is a spiral. And I don't think this is a microcosm or a tone setter for them spiraling at the end of the season. Max, pay attention because I'm actually speaking a little bit favorably about your team right now. I really didn't see a spiral. I've been impressed with a lot of things that I've seen from the Eagles these past 2 or 3 weeks. So I'm not expecting or forecasting a spiraling at the end of the season. But I knew that there were lumps that they were going to take. To be honest, I wouldn't have been surprised if the Jets game was a loss, like just completely overlooking a team and then getting beat. I didn't expect it to be this early. I didn't expect it to be against the Giants. But I knew there was going to be an ugly loss in here. There was going to be a loss that kind of was a head scratcher or didn't really taste like well. Knew that we left this one on the board, and it just happened to be the Giants. But I'm in between because it's not going to be you're going to win out or accept this game. It's going to be like, wow, I can't believe that Giants game happened. But I don't think it's a sign of the Eagles are probably just going to drop all of these games. They're going to play really sloppy down the end of the season, and it's going to be a throwaway. I think it's like a learn from it, burn the tape, and now we know how to go forward to the rest of the season. I do still think it's promising. My win total for the Eagles coming in was 6. We can go back to the first episode. Right. It was 6. You guys are at 5 already, so I'm actually encouraged by what I see from the Eagles, and like it's shut me up a little bit sometimes. Not gonna lie.
It sucks, man. This one does suck to lose, but I appreciate the well wishes.
What was the preseason over under for wins?
6.5.
6.5, 7.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll be sitting right around there. I mean, maybe more. Who knows? Depending the AFC or the NFC's. The NFC's not looking great at that bottom end of the playoff.
Get y'all stuff together, and this is still a favorable schedule. The favorability of the schedule didn't change. So like, get y'all stuff together.
NFC like 5 through 8 is not that strong right now. So we'll see. This, to me, this was a game that a young team loses, and that's exactly what this team is. It's a young team. It's not like a characteristically like a bottom 3 average age team, but this is a lot of key young players in key positions. What's been kind of interesting to me to see is that like the influence of the veterans hasn't really rubbed off in key moments like this. Like, to me, like when Jason Kelce went out, that was huge because the offensive line is by far the strongest unit on this team. But like, if we're looking at the defense, like Fletcher's influence hasn't really been felt this season at all. Like Hargrave had an incredible first couple weeks of the season. Hasn't really made that much of a difference, especially on the culture of the defense. Slay is probably, if we're going to take the two veterans that have like the biggest cultural impact, it's Slay and Kelce by far.
Agreed.
But
they're
this is
different defense when Slay plays. Like
exactly.
He is the clear leader of that defense.
This was definitely a game that a young team loses, especially a team with a young quarterback who, again, guys, hasn't started a full regular season of games still.
No, that was his 16th. Well, I guess it's not a full regular season anymore. 16.
Yeah, got one more.
I hate that so much, but that's what worries me about. And I'm not going to call this a tone setter. They're better than what they showed. Like I said earlier, this was a classic case of a bad team firing a key coach and that having a reverberating effect throughout the locker room. So anytime you get a chance to fire Jason Garrett, I think you should probably take it.
Yeah, do it.
So it didn't even look that good offensively. Like you knew what the game plan was going to be going in. They did Freddie Kitchens for a week last year without Garrett, and they scored like 6 points. They lost 20-6.
Well, to the Giants, performing well on offense is not turning the ball over 4 times.
Yeah, I mean, honestly.
So that is the only part that kind of worries me for the rest of the slate. Is this is a young team and it got shown in key moments. So I'm not ready to call it a tone setter. I'm also not ready to call it an outlier. So, JJ, I think I'm more along your lines there.
In the middle. I will say this. The Eagles' back end of their schedule, their playoff hopes, I think, rest on Jalen Hurts. And I think yesterday was the microcosm of that. I think Jalen Hurts has to lead them to the playoffs. There are a couple of teams who are in the Eagles' position who their quarterback doesn't have to lead them to the back end of their schedule into the playoffs. And I think Jalen Hurts is in that position. The Niners are definitely one of them. But the Colts maybe another one of those teams too. They can play despite their quarterback. But Jalen Hurts has to lead the Eagles to the playoffs, and if he continues to play this bad, that's where the spiraling will happen. If he continues to play this bad,
yeah.
So that is a very good segue into our next question. Show me how much it hurts. How does this game? And JJ, I'm gonna turn it right back.
Come right back to me.
I'm gonna come right back to you. How does this game affect your perception of Jalen Hurts? Lay it all on me. Don't spare no detail.
I will spare no details. I got to see what you look like when it gets tough. Like you've gone through every checkpoint in the season, the starting of it, your first lumps, getting back up off the canvas, and now it's the home stretch. And as a starting quarterback trying to lead a playoff push, you've never done anything in your career like try to go down the back end of your schedule and lead your team to the playoffs. And it colors the perception of Jalen Hurts that when it starts to get tough, you start to play really bad. Your performance takes a nosedive. And he talked a lot about in the beginning of the season of earning his keep and the rent being due. And I told you guys before, there are going to be a couple of key times in this season where we're going to watch Jalen Hurts pay rent. And I think coming up, like now we're going to have to watch Jalen Hurts pay rent again. You got knocked out on the canvas. You got hurt. You got beat really badly. But you still have hope. There's still very much a chance for you to lead your team to the playoffs and still cement yourself as the starting quarterback going forward, because that's still very much up in the air too. So, like it's time for him to pay rent again, and it's to me it's not a good sign that when the going is starting to get tough, the first action was down to the Giants.
Max, your perception. Up, give me thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways.
I mean, I guess it's kind of like, you know, in terms of my previous stance, it's the thumb sideways because, you know, as much as I've tried to be Josh Safran Jr. and be positive and try and rally around Jalen Hurts being the guy, like, you know, early on in the season, the things that I said I questioned the most about him were two huge issues yesterday: his accuracy and his deep ball. And I mean, the two of them together, I mean, that's a total recipe for disaster, as we saw in the third pick. The first one was that's just a really, really bad throw that got away from him. I mean, that's not necessarily Watkins being like totally blanketed in coverage. Like, I think there is a window that you can fit that into somehow. And I mean, he just throws the ball 2 feet in front of him and it makes that play way too easy for the safety. The third one, the deep ball, I mean, you know, fool me once, fool me twice, fool me 3 times. I mean, we've seen it enough by this point. The guy's not a good deep ball thrower, and I've harped on that a lot, and I'm not going to waste my breath on that a ton. I will say the second pick surprised me, right? Like, that's supposed to be his thing. He's supposed to be a smart guy. He's supposed to make the right decisions. Like, we keep trying to profile him as an athletic game manager. Like, that second pick is Davis Mills level bad. That's pick any backup quarterback that's seen the field and never saw it. That's Ben DiNucci shit what he did on that second.
No.
That's what I'm saying. I'm digging through the archives up here.
Please don't do
right?
another one. You're gonna really hurt him if you do.
I might be able to grab one more for you before the end of this rant.
Don't hurt much more than Ben DiNucci. I'll tell you that right there.
But I mean, like that's the thing that really kind of drove it home for me, right? Like I've been adamant in saying that Jalen Hurts' arm is not capable of carrying a team to success, regular season or postseason. And yesterday, I mean, I think that was even bad for his standards, the standards that I hold for him. But I think that helps my point ring true, is that this guy had every opportunity to come back from a 10-point game. He had a whole game to do it. This was not a frantic fourth quarter comeback that needed. This was just give the offense some spark of life at any point in the first 45 minutes, and you put yourself in a great spot going into the fourth quarter where things actually matter, right? Like where you can get over turnovers that happen right before halftime because the other team's not scoring any points off them. You can deal with interceptions when your defense is stepping up and getting you the ball back. But what you can't do is you can't not take advantage of any of the opportunities that you're given and expect for it to just kind of work itself out in the end, right? Like you have to convert at some point along the way. You don't know when these opportunities are going to keep happening. So I think that kind of, I've never had the utmost faith that Hurts is the guy moving forward. He's going to be the guy to deliver a Super Bowl ring here. I do think that as of the current landscape of football, it doesn't really seem like there's going to be many better options for the Eagles to start week 1 with next year. So I'm going to continue to hope that he develops and gets better. And in this last 5-6 games of the season that he does, show me what he can do with an arm. And I don't see anything like this ever again. But as of this moment in time, November 29th, 7:27 p.m., I think that just kind of reaffirmed all of the bad pessimistic thoughts that I've had about him stirring in there that I've been able to quell for the last couple of weeks on this winning streak.
I got to give credit for you for ending your take with that and still giving him a thumb sideways. You know what I mean?
I didn't see much positive. I don't know how you're in the middle.
I'm saying thumb sideways from my perception. Like obviously that individual game is 2 thumbs down. Like I'll put all 5 of my finger. I'll go horns down for that. Like that's how bad.
Horns down.
But in terms of like how is my perception individually of him changed so much? Like being honest with myself, like those are like that was the writing on the wall that I chose to ignore for the last couple of weeks when things were rolling well. But I've said all those things multiple times on here. This isn't. That's the idea in my head, and winning cures everything, as we see in any sport in any generation. Man, you figure out a way to win. Like we'll deal with the problems. Like we're the 1 seed in the East. We'll deal with you shooting 57% from the free throw line.
Ouch.
All roads lead back.
Ow.
Yeah, like we are full circle on today,
God,
man.
dude,
all the pain. You are
so
in
much
pain. Digits is in pain. It's all coming out.
I'm pain after that double overtime loss with
Timberwolves
on Saturday. That was brutal to watch.
One thing that I'm kind of just going through my head as we're going through this conversation. I know Jalen Hurts started the last 4 games of the season last year, but what's his sample size in the cold? Because if you think about his college career, he played.
That's Saints. The Saints game last year was later in the season, right?
In the dome,
December, yeah. This was like
it was in the light.
It was home, and that's what I'm saying. Like I know he was Green Bay away too. Green Bay, he played Green Bay too. Either way, home or away, either way, he played Green Bay.
I'll drop you this. It's funny you mentioned that. I actually saw on Twitter today that I think in game environments where the temperature is 40 degrees or less, Hurts is 0-4 as a starter. And so I remember that temperature because someone was like, "Oh, what about the Denver game?" It was actually like ridiculously nice in Denver.
Yeah,
it was like
nice.
almost 60 degrees that day.
Yeah.
And
I ran across that
first 3 years in college, in Alabama in the SEC, and then the next year in Oklahoma, and then played all the championship games in the dome, played all the national championship games in the dome. It literally just kind of sparked in my head as we were talking. I'm trying to go through. He's probably got 2 or 3 games under his belt that are below 30 degrees.
There's no way I'll be able to find this, but I'm pretty sure
he plays all the games that he plays coming up. Like he don't go to a dome. The Cowboys.
Yeah, he's about to get a good old fashioned stretch.
He got cold everywhere he go. He got cold everywhere he go.
It's a good poll right there. I got to go thumbs down here. Like this is
it's tough.
At some point, you need to be if you are going to be a starting quarterback with a team that has any kind of hopes, you need to be able to win a game from a pocket. I'm not saying you need to be a pocket passer, because if you look around the league, there's not many pocket passers left. But you need to win a game from the pocket. You need to show that you can win a game from the pocket. He doesn't see anything. The vision is not there at all. And Nick Sirianni's press conferences today, I forget which play it was, but he clearly outlined Devontae Smith was the hot read. He was the first read on that play. And he didn't even look that way. Like, Jalen Hurts isn't some guy that's going to make it to his fifth read. So the fact that he missed his first read tells me he didn't even look that way. And
it makes sense because Jalen Reagor is in the middle of the field, right in front of him.
It. Very small sample size, but after yesterday's loss to the Giants, Jalen Hurts is now 0-4 straight up as a starting QB when the temperature is under 40 degrees. The under is also 4-0 in those games.
That's a good poll. It's a good poll right there.
So the Packers game was over 40? That way
he was a start. He wasn't the starter.
Oh, he came in that game. Wow. Look at
that. Okay. Yeah, I gotta go thumbs down here, guys. Like, this is play recognition. This is going through your progression when you're in the pocket. This is making the decision to either escape or stay in the pocket and just climb the pocket and buy yourself a couple more seconds. Winning does cure everything, but I think it's something that a lot of sports fans in every market need to assess, and don't just gloss over the negatives because you're winning. Like, it seems very short-sighted to me that just because we've won 4 in a row. I'm not saying the Eagles did, but we've won 4 in a row. There's still a glaring problem. Like, no, imagine how much better we could be if we fix that problem and then keep moving. Like, it's exactly the example I brought up with Nick Sirianni earlier. Okay, things are going right. What if we make this little tweak to make them go even better, but we forget what got us here? Mm-hmm. I don't know. And I don't even want to get into the development thing. Like, I think I've just shot that in the face.
I would sit back and let y'all duke it out if y'all want to really quick.
No, I don't even need to get into it, because it's just like, this is what I was afraid of. So I just watched it play out.
Yeah, 1 step forward, 2 steps backwards kind of thing. But, Baroness, if I could play like devil's advocate for your last point, like, I do 100%, like, I do agree with you. I was going to try to refute it, but why? But why try to refute it? But why?
Yes, come to the dark side.
Like, why try to refute it? No.
So we did right there. We did a little check back in on Jalen Hurts. So now check back in on these playoffs. Okay, I think we touched on it a little bit. We'll make this kind of quick. We'll do this quickly. We kind of glossed over the schedule and what it means, and how we're gonna re-look back at this Eagles season. But give me a couple word answer, JJ. Check back in on these playoff hopes. Get it. Let's get a second opinion.
Playoffs.
All right, Jim Mora.
I was pinky toe in the water of the playoff hopes last week, so it don't take much for me to get on out and put my sneakers back on. Like, it don't take much for me. I'm cooling.
Max, couple words.
Being the ever optimist I am, I'll say you can't kill what's already dead. You know, we're at the point where we're 11 games into the season. The Eagles can still sniff the playoffs, and going into this year, we had, at least I had zero expectations of ever, having a chance of meaningful football in December. So, I am playing with house money. The Eagles are very much still alive in the playoff race. Like this, if this loss happens again, something similar like this, they're as dead as a doorknob, right? You can recover from one loss like this. Even if you do lose one other of these games before the Cowboys, you can still make the playoffs. Like, this was obviously a very important game in terms of keeping the momentum going and keeping yourself in the driver's seat standings. But we did touch on this. Like, the middle of the NFC is like wildly diluted. People were back in on the Panthers with Cam Newton, and we saw how that went yesterday. And the Vikings, who we do not have to worry about tiebreakers with, so we could get in over them on some fluky reasoning. Like, it's not the 49ers who lost yesterday. 49ers winning actually really helps the Eagles' chance for the 7th seed, because at this point we know who the top 6 are going to be. It seems like the 49ers very clearly are on the inside track for the 6th seed after their win yesterday. And it would be quite the collapse if the Rams didn't make the playoffs. So in terms of that 7th spot for the NFC, who is particularly convincing enough to say that the Eagles aren't still in this, right? Like if I'm putting my money on it, I still think the Vikings are the best team of the bunch, but I don't think that the Eagles should give up and be like, damn, that was our Super Bowl, we lost it, season's over. Start looking for next year. It's not even close to that point yet.
What is dead may never die. Yep. I'm like calf deep in the shallow end. You know those pools that like they're one big pool, but they go from like the deep end into like the mid range, and then they go over into the baby pool, but it's all connected, and then into the baby pool, it's that ramp that you can walk into, so you don't gotta like actually jump in the pool.
You're the dad just sitting there, hands on hips, just
I'm like feet deep with like on that ramp they have those like fountains of water and some shit like that. I'm standing right there with my beer, got the feet in the water,
watching the kids go down the slide. I'm right here.
Yeah,
I'm right here.
Like I'm yelling like, hey, don't you? No, not the hot. Yeah, that's me sitting over there.
You're gonna be a great dad, Banners.
I'm gonna try. Let's see. So I mean, dude, like the New Orleans Saints are not making the playoffs. The Atlanta Falcons are over the Eagles right now in the conference seeding, which is great. Dude, the Atlanta Falcons have a minus 103 point differential.
Insane.
I
love that.
The only team worse is the Detroit Lions with a negative 115 point differential. Like one team has 0 wins, one team has 5.
The NFL was in danger of looking over the Falcons the entire season until the last 2 weeks and be like, "Holy crap! If the Falcons win this game, they go to the playoffs." Like the Bears last year. Like they're in danger of doing that again.
Great example.
I don't think the Atlanta Falcons make it. It just doesn't make sense to me. The Niners, if they actually Jimmy Garoppolo cannot throw a football. If Deebo Samuel doesn't miss an extended amount of time and they go through the run game, I think this Niners team is an annoying team for anybody to play going into the playoffs. The Vikings, just because of how easy their schedule is for the rest of the season, I think they make it. But that's going to be a 3-horse race there for that last seed. I don't buy the Falcons in the least. If you do, please do not play the stock market. You are buying the wrong stocks. Say that again.
So I don't believe in them, but I love the fact they're in the hunt.
Yeah, it's nice parity right there, especially with that point differential. So I mean, you at this point you just got to let the pieces fall where they may. I've beaten a dead horse too many times. I think it's one of those happy coincidences that now as the Eagles, you need to focus on what's important on this team. I won't say what that is. I think it's now if you happen to make it, I think it's you stumbled ass backwards into a very positive situation. So. Like I said, I mean, the Eagles have a plus 31 point differential. The Falcons have a negative 103. I think we can all presume who the better team is there and who is deserving of the higher seed. So
that's so funny.
What is dead may never die.
Team stat.
That's great. Honestly, it's great.
Like a minus 103. Ouch.
Almost doesn't seem real. That almost doesn't seem that they have any wins, but that doesn't seem real.
Let alone 5. Hey, the Eagles contributed to that with a blowout to open up the season.
Right.
But it's time for our favorite segment of the week here, boys. NFL's winners and losers. Before we do that, I got to tell you about our friends at PHL Sports Nation. Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience. Did I throw a fan in there twice? Either way, whatever. You're a fan twice. Covering all your Philadelphia sports across blogs, podcasts, articles, anything between. You can find them on any social media platform. PHLSportsNation.com. Hey, Union win. Real quick plug.
Yeah.
Union win.
Absolutely.
Moving on.
Super die, baby. Super die.
Andre Blake is a stone, brick, any steel wall, any kind of wall. That's Andre Blake right there. And for more Union coverage, you can check out our friends at PHL Sports Nation. Quick little plug right there. Winners and losers here, boys. We're going to go around the room, as we always do. We'll start with losers first. Max A. Million, your Week 12 loser.
I mean, I would be remiss as the only Eagles fan on the show.
I was about to say, don't you dare run away. Don't you dare run away.
How about them Cowboys? Wow, talk about a great performance by the Raiders. Just when everyone had considered them, dead, left for dead in the context of their season. The emotional stuff is it's too much. There's too much going on in that building. Everyone thought the Raiders were done. Everyone thought this was a prime spot for the Cowboys to bounce back. and it wasn't. The Raiders go down to the Big D with an outright Thanksgiving ruiner. Shout out to that Cowboys fan who has fought his whole family on the brink of tears.
I saw that. I saw that.
Oh,
I saw that.
Oh, that was
so good. And then just to add the cherry on top, and maybe this is a good thing if you're the narcissistic Cowboys fan. I don't think there's many people watching the show. Mike McCarthy ruled out for COVID for their Thursday night game at New Orleans.
Nice.
Love to see the Cowboys go into a hostile environment with some other backup doofus. We already, Banner knows Mike McCarthy is not the brightest, the brightest bulb in the box, and having a guy who was underneath him on the coaching tree is only a good thing for the Saints defense. So
Mike McCarthy looked like he was thinking about Thanksgiving dinner in like the second quarter.
I don't blame him. That's what you got to do. He thought the game was wrapped up. That's what you talk about when the team's underprepared. They're already focused on Thanksgiving dinner, and the Cowboys were never in that game. Cowboys were never in that game.
No,
and it was beautiful. It was totally beautiful to watch. So shout out to the Cowboys for I think their third or fourth loss in a row. Just as unconvincing as ever.
3 of the last 4. 3 of the last. They beat the Falcons.
That's true. They did beat the Falcons. Huge win.
Wait.
Hey, the Falcons are in the hoop. That's a quality win in Week 12.
JJ, you're a Week 12 loser.
I mean, it's got to be the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? It's got to be the Steelers, right? Like my goodness, and if it's not the Steelers as a whole, Big Ben, you got to hang it up, dog. It's got to be it. And I don't want to remember you like this. I don't. I've been a Ben Roethlisberger fan pretty much my entire football watching life, so I don't want to see you go out like this, big dog. I really don't. It's looking so bad. Mike Tomlin's on the hot seat now, and I really don't think he should be. I just think he's being a product of trying to be too compassionate to his franchise quarterback. Like at some point, you got to pull the plug for somebody. If he's not going to retire himself, you got to move on for the betterment of your football team. But going out and putting that performance up against a division rival to jump spring them into their playoff race and really kind of just poke holes in your own sail. It was just terrible. It was a terrible showing. Stephen A. Smith called it the most embarrassing loss of Mike Tomlin's career. And while I'm not going to, chase clicks like that, it's pretty bad. It's in the grand scheme of things.
It was pretty bad.
It was pretty bad. So the Steelers got one for me. Honorable mention though is the Los Angeles Rams because you're not that bad. How's it feel to find out that you're not that bad?
That was I'm gonna go with these Rams because
not as bad as you thought you was.
Yeah. How do I say that? Okay. Rodgers can't move. He didn't throw 400 yards on you. He didn't drop 400 yards on you. And this defense, this defense is way too talented to get blown out by the Packers right there. At least we thought. At least on paper, it is.
Right. Come on now.
It's I need more from you. Stafford throws an interception and loses a fumble. It was pick 6, I believe. But with the Eagles' old friend Rasul Douglas gets another pick 6. It's you can't. Come on, 7-4. You should be 9-2 right now. Realistically, these Rams should be so
shaky, baby.
Yeah, they're looking pretty shaky right now, and you gotta after the close loss last week from the Packers, you got to go in there and take that opportunity to kind of step on their throat there a little bit. I get it. You're coming from a dome in good weather to Lambeau Field, but it wasn't like a classic Lambeau game where there's 2 feet of snow and you're bundled up under heaters all game. So you're
football players. You're not all of you have played in LA your entire career. OBJ just coming from Cleveland. There's a bunch of players we're football players. You got to be able to play in the cold.
He was trying to find a Bitcoin ATM in Wisconsin. We all know that's not. We all know there's not.
Something was going on.
Week 12 winners coming back around. Max $8 million.
Honestly, I feel like there's a lot of winners this week.
There is a lot of winners.
I will stay away from the Bengals. That's who I was going to go with. We just talked about the Steelers, and that's just the inverse of that. So I'll stay away from them. I will say that we did kind of touch on this, and Banners, I'm sorry, we were in solidarity yesterday, but the San Francisco 49ers, man, I mean, in a week where all the talk was on the Packers and Rams in terms of playoff importance and positioning, the 49ers and the Vikings was honestly probably the most critical matchup of the week in terms of two teams really slugging it out for for a wild card spot in the NFC. The Niners, they held it down. They had their best rushing performance of the year numerically. I think they finished at 240 total yards rushing, which was their best output of the season. And they were certainly aided by by some great work out of the brain of Mike Zimmer and the brain of Kirk Cousins from the Viking side. But for a team that
he lined up on Kirk Cousins lined up under a guard.
He did on a fourth down on a crucial play. This was not 1st and 10 with halfway through the third quarter. Funny moment. This is a 4th and goal to try and go for the touchdown for then the 2-point conversion to tie the game, and they had to burn a timeout because the play clock wound down so far before I realized.
Which turned out to bite them in the ass.
Which did turn out to bite them in the ass. So yes, trying not to focus on the losing side too much here. The Niners, who were previously left for dead a couple of weeks ago before their game against the Rams, seem to have both killed the Rams and reinvigorated themselves at once, also ending is Kyle Shanahan actually not a genius talk. So it's been a hell of a November for them, and they really capped it off in style with a win that gives them an inside track to the top half of the 2 open NFC wild cards. It doesn't really seem like at this point that opens the door for them being able to fight with the Rams for the potential 5th seed. So credit to the Niners, man. Big win for them.
JJ, Week 12 loser.
Week 12
or winner. I'm sorry.
Winner, right?
Ooh, hey.
It's got to be. Come on, man. They're back. The New England Patriots. That was such an impressive win against the Titans. I get the Titans don't have their lead back, but every other running back they got now is looking tragic. I mean, that was a terrible showing by their backs. But I mean, Mac Jones throwing for over 320 yards and 2 or 3 touchdowns. No turnovers. He looks clearly like the best rookie out of this draft class that's come out. They're number 2 in the AFC and number 1 in the AFC East now. Have now overtaken the Bills for that AFC East spot. Who would have thought that after 12 games, this New England Patriots team would be second in their conference and first in their division in the driver's seat right now? And they, you were talking about hitting a stride. They're 6 in a row now. Like they look complete. Like they look like they don't just look like a team who's playing well. They look like one of the best teams in football. Bill Belichick, I guess I got my swagger back. Like he's back, man.
They never lost it, really.
I got to go with the pick. Well, I mean, it's funny because they're probably the only franchise in history that the lesser talent their quarterback has is the better situation for them. They don't need
Kendrick Bourne look like he's a goddamn all-pro this year. It's insane.
But Max, they don't want a dynamic quarterback. You get a quarterback with all this talent, all these attributes like Cam Newton, and you try to move your offense around him, and it doesn't work. And then you go and get the big Ophi-looking dude who all he does is stand there and throw the ball, and you're like, finally, a big ball of clay that I can just mold into whatever I want. And he won't try to do anything else. I'll tell him to throw the ball. He'll just throw the ball there. And it'll be completed, and he'll go for a touchdown. Like they finally got their next one. Not saying that Mac Jones is Tom Brady level, but the comparison of he doesn't do anything special, but he doesn't do anything bad. We can work with that. I want that. I think they found it.
My winner has got to be Lamar Jackson. And I know really? It's a weird statement considering the guy threw 4 interceptions.
Player of the game, baby.
Terrible game to watch. But like, if we want to talk about like war of attrition, which is what the NFL is, all but 3 of the Baltimore Ravens starters have either been on IR, out for extended periods of time, or on the COVID list, and this team is still 8-3 in the number 1 seed in the AFC.
Who are those 3 starters? It's Lamar, Mark Andrews, and who else?
Hollywood.
The big 3 is like
I wouldn't even count.
That's all you need, man.
Hollywood did, so it might be this. It might be the center.
Or is it Duvernay? Has Duvernay been injured?
Duvernay's not a starter.
I don't know if I count Duvernay as a starter.
Yeah, I think it's got to be someone on the offensive line.
Look, if my quarterback and my best receiver are healthy, like we go to war. That's all I need.
It's extremely impressive. Lamar hasn't hit the COVID list, considering he's openly on vax too, as well, which is like.
And he got close. Remember, he almost missed it. Yeah. Tested negative on Saturday and was good to go.
Yep. It's you got to give it to these guys, and you got to give it to John Harbaugh. This is an incredible coaching job out of the younger Harbaugh. Older Harbaugh? Older Harbaugh.
He's the older one, yeah.
Older Harbaugh. This is an incredible job out of him and Lamar Jackson. You threw 4 picks, but you did win it in the end. So, I mean, I don't know if I really believe in this Ravens team. They're
everything, baby. We've talked about it.
I don't think.
It's going to be very interesting, but you can't really go into the AFC playoff picture scoring 16 points a game. So we'll see.
But they've beaten.
Defense.
Yeah, but they've beaten the Chiefs and the Colts. But they've also when they've needed to put up these points to beat these good teams. I just don't know. I really just have no clue.
Yeah, I really don't know. And is this going to be? I think this now goes to the back-to-back weeks where they play the Browns 2 weeks in a row.
No, they already had this.
Is it Browns by Browns, or they?
Yeah,
it's
something.
It's Browns by Browns, which is I still don't know how the NFL allowed that to happen. But I guess we're getting ready for another Browns or another Ravens win in an ugly game in 2 weeks. So
and then again after that in 2 weeks.
Yeah, whatever. So Lamar Jackson, take the flowers, and hopefully you can at least get somewhat healthy before the playoff picture because you're the most fun quarterback in the league to watch. It is what it is.
Seriously.
So
another honorable mention: Leonard Fournette. Winner.
Oh yeah, big day. It's the year of the big backs, gentlemen. The year of the big running back. It seems
the bruisers
to be
are back.
It's I like that. I really do. I like that. I'm tired of the scat backs getting
north-south runners.
It reminds us of our childhood whenever we had, if you didn't have a big bruiser back in the early mid 2000s, you weren't doing it right. That's the football.
No, seriously.
Mm-hmm.
We all of our favorite teams have one. All of our favorite teams have one. Shout out Mike Allstott, baby.
Yeah,
shout out first ballot Hall of Famer AP. It's the days of Jerome Bettis are back, which is all I'll say.
4 carries for -1 yards and 3 touchdowns is my favorite stat line of all time.
That's crazy. That is crazy. Second half here, boys, and it's going to be would you rather. Obviously, it's pretty self-explanatory, but I'm going to give you a situation. You're going to tell me what would you rather do. Game on the line. We all played those scenarios in the backyard. It was a lot of baseball. It's bottom of the ninth, 2 strikes, hiding up to the bat. We're gonna go with football here though. Game on the line. Would you rather throw the ball up to? Oh, this is a good one. Would you rather throw the ball up to? And I had the right graphic. Reagor or Travis Fulgham? Max.
I'm glad you went first, Max. Because I don't even know.
I wish Josh was here because I'd absolutely applaud him for this. I mean, whatever goes on in his mind, I gotta know. I'll play along here, and I'll default to Jalen Reagor because he's actually on an active NFL roster.
Sure. I'll go the opposite. I'll go Travis Fulgham straight off recency bias because I can't pick Jalen Reagor to do anything right now. This might be the best question of the season. This might be the best question of the season. Just pound for pound. There is no right answer.
Is there a C? Could I?
Right.
I don't. I got it. Well,
I'll let you throw JJ in there as a third option.
I would go J-Jaw.
Yeah, I mean he fits both criteria, tall and on an active NFL roster. I mean, he's my pick here.
Yeah, and Reagor's what's he 5'8"? He's not tall, he's not huge. He's a speedster.
He jumps great for his size. I mean, the dude.
Yeah, but you can jump.
Yesterday, he was up there.
You can jump great for 5'8" and still be a couple inches. I don't know.
I would say based off the tape I watched him when we drafted him, I would say the jump ball is legitimately his strongest attribute, which is obviously not something you expect.
That's got to be his strongest attribute is speed, but I got to go J-Jaw here because he 2 shots, 2 chances to tie and or win the game, and you'd
I think it's funny that we had two options, and Mariners is nah, I gotta pick someone off the street.
I'm going C here. C's always the answer.
C's get degrees, man.
I can't do it. I can't do either. One Fulgham, Fulgham's got such a bad attitude, he can't even stay on a roster. So I don't trust you throwing up a game ball to you. And Reagor, man, twice it hits you in the face mask.
I get that Travis Fulgham is unemployed. He got cut by the Texans too. Don't tell me that's who he got cut by.
Really?
That's tough.
But I can't. But we're not even we're barely 24 hours removed from that yesterday, gentlemen. I can't pick Reagor to do anything right now.
It hit him in the face mask. I can't do it. I can't do it. Second, would you rather? Oh boy. I don't even want to. Baseball has me upset right now. But would you rather
Oh my god.
The Phillies land a lights-out closer
Oh my
or an
god.
all-star outfielder. Is this unanimous here,
last time
boys?
It's a no-brainer. This is a no-brainer. We have one of those. We have one of those. We have one of those. And if I could choose $1 million or a lights out closer right now, I choose a lights out closer. I'm so tired of not having a closer. Like we have one of those. I don't want like. I want
For real?
like. Is it saying
I'm
like
also taking the million personally, but I like where your head's at.
like is this question asking like as an addition or like just straight up one of the, like is this for the Phillies or is this like
It's for the Phillies.
I would assume this is for the Phillies.
It's
Right.
for the Phillies.
So if
You're
I
going
pick,
closer.
if I pick the closer, I lose Bryce Harper. If I pick the closer,
No. In it, like right now in
Yeah,
this
the
offseason,
current roster.
in this offseason,
I
would you
thought
rather
was saying
go?
like I thought it was saying like in this offseason, would you rather go get a lights out closer or an all-star outfielder? Like we have an all-star outfielder. I want
Well, no. Team notwithstanding, so you still have Bryce Harper. Would you rather go get another all-star outfielder or a closer?
I'm gonna close it, Banners.
Yeah.
I'm going
Really?
I'm going to get no brainer. I can't
I've been
watch
hurt
this.
too many times.
Banners,
I've
we
been hurt too
blew
many
the most saves in MLB history. Like you can watch that again. I can't watch that again because that don't negate another all-star outfielder. We could get another one. We can go up by 3 runs every game. And if we have the same bullpen, we will blow those games every single time. I need a closer. I can't.
I don't know, man. I would rather go get an all-star center fielder. Like to me, if I can get a 5-run lead, I don't need to. I can throw in Ian Kennedy and
No, you
let him give up a
can't.
home run.
We've tried. You can't. I can put a Band-Aid over center field. I could put a Band-Aid over center field.
You can. Wait, you can? I don't think we've been trying to do that for how long?
Put it this way: both of them are still going to bleed. Both of them are still going to bleed, but the center fielder is going. It's going to clot a lot sooner than the bullpen is. Banner's the most in MLB history.
Yeah.
35 blown saves. You know what it takes to blow 35 saves? Like that's hard for me to wrap my mind around. I can't do it again. And the sad thing is, this is only a hypothetical. We're going to go through it again because we're Phillies fans. But if I can live in a utopia, if I can live in a meta somewhere, grabbing me a lights out closer.
Banners, I am shocked.
I'm actually really surprised.
I'm shocked that you
think about going through this season again. Think about it,
dude. But like what? It's come on. Like you have to look at history. Even if we get yes, bet on regression. Even if we get a quote unquote lights out receiver or wow, that's where my head's at. a lights out closer, he's gonna turn into Chad Qualls. Like I can't do it. Like it's. I would rather wait.
He's lights out. He's lights out. He's Brad Lidge.
No, he's lights out for everybody but the Phillies.
This outfielder's an all-star for everybody but the Phillies.
Well, no. We took somebody else's MVP outfielder, and he was an MVP outfielder for us, right? So the transitive property means that I have to follow what has been shown, what has been proven to be true. Whoever comes here and goes into the bullpen becomes either Chad Qualls or Brandon Workman.
I can't watch it again. I can't watch. If I have the opportunity to fix the bullpen, I can't watch it.
You know damn well if Craig Kimbrell comes here, he's going to have an over 5 ERA.
He did that anyway, though. He went to another team and started sucking.
He did that out of the 8th inning role. He did that as a setup, man, not a closer.
He did it as a closer. Fair enough.
Semantics. They matter.
Fair enough.
Oh, our last. I'm so depressed by baseball right now. Our last would you rather, and this is, I'm actually very intrigued by this one. Would you rather a Union MLS Cup or a playoff berth by the Birds?
Easy.
JJ, I know what you're going with.
Easy for me. That'd actually be really cool to see the Union win a chip. I'd actually be interested to see the reaction from Philly.
I was going to say that too.
Because if it comes at a time now where all of them are down bad, I think it's like a not now Union, like it's like a like. But if it comes at a time where everyone's happy, it's like little brother winning the championship. Like we're all happy. But imagine you come to Thanksgiving, and the only one to win their championship for their season was little brother in his PB tournament. So good for you, but not now. So I think so. I think so. Like
I'm actually
you think the
really
opposite. You think like, oh, this is the championship we need right now.
I think people will be like, finally, some team.
I don't think that.
I think now
the Flyers. Now I agree with it not being the major 3. If the Flyers win a championship, that's where I think it will go. But I don't think it would
it's-
be. I don't think it would be MLS. I don't think it would be.
I
soccer.
think this could be a really big opportunity for fans in Philadelphia and for the Union organization. Everybody's down bad right now. Like, we are down bad as a city.
across the board.
So if out of nowhere the Union come and bring a cup to this town, I'm actually I would be really excited to see how many new fans that could garner in the city of Philadelphia.
I was just going to say that for me personally, I mean, everyone has their own different social media universes, right? But for me personally, I've never seen more traction on social media about the Union in the last week and a half between their 123rd minute winner against New York and the fact that they are going to the Cup final as of last night, right? Like I haven't, you know, as someone who used to intern for the Union, like I still kind of pay attention, and that's my answer, like mostly for this, because I think it would be pretty awesome, and we do actually have a pretty dedicated soccer fan base in the general area. I think it would be awesome for the Union to do it. You know, a little spot in my heart from my time there, you know, all those years ago. So let's go Union, Duke baby all day, and
you go to
do
get Duke flag?
How big do we think the parade would be? Would the parade be like?
There you go, baby. There you go, digits.
There it is.
There you go, baby.
There it is. How do you think the parade would be?
It's tough because I feel like most people who are Union fans, especially based on my experiences working there, are not people in the city. Like,
yeah, I think
okay.
I have a feeling the parade might be an underwhelming visual, but I mean, go to a Union game, man. There's no shortage.
That's crazy.
The energy there would be
Exactly.
great, but you're right that the aerial view would be like not a lot.
And let's be honest, the MLS doesn't command a crowd like.
I think it would be funny because I do think it would make Philly fans. They would be happy for the Union, but then they'd turn around at the other major three and get mad at them again. Like they'd be like,
hey,
"Good job,
you do this now."
right," and then they'd be, "But what are you doing?" But like, what are you doing, just standing here, like being all dumb? Like, exactly, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I would love to see it though. They definitely know what they're doing over there, down in Chester at Subaru Park. So, best of luck to Andre Blake and the boys. We'll see if they can bring it home, boys. To wrap out the show, we're gonna do our thing, tap outs. Anybody want to go first?
I'll go first. My AirPods are at 1% battery. I got nothing else to say. Have a great week, everybody.
Digits, your back is up against the wall. Let me tell you, you've already gotten that little do in the ear. Like, it's a stressful time for you right now.
What you got, JJ?
I have to once again remind the rest of the country that the only correct place, the only place that does an authentic cheesesteak well, is Philadelphia. And like I don't understand why Baltimore or like the DMV area, Jersey, sometimes like every once in a while you see these sandwiches pop up on social media and it says something like Philly could never or best cheesesteaks. I saw someone call it a steak and cheese one time. I almost threw my phone through
New England does that.
It's New England steak and cheese. I almost threw my phone through a window. So I'm not sure why you want to try us. Like go claim to have the best pizza. Go claim to have the best, hoagies, or go claim to have the best something that everybody does. But don't claim to have the best something that one place in the world specializes in, because you'll never do it. You'll just never do it.
A friendly word of advice, if you haven't figured this out yet, I'm sure everyone who watches us would have figured this out. If you're out of the general area and you're in a place what is on their menu is a Philly cheesesteak, just
run away.
Never bother. Save your money. Get anything else on the menu.
Literally anything else.
I was trying to think of something. I don't know. I mean, the Sixers are up by like 15 points at halftime, but
it's good.
My girl's about to go to a conference in Houston. I'm gonna be home alone for like 5 days. I've been eating like pretty healthy lately, and
it's all going to hell now.
That's going out the window.
Absolutely. When the wife's away, you gotta play. Absolutely.
I'm not going to do anything. Nothing's going to be different. I'm just going to treat my body.
We've
like
already
shit.
lost one. I got
the last one's holding on for dear life.
We've already lost one.
This one just died on me. Nothing's coming out.
I know my daily routine and just like how I operate. I'm not going to do anything differently except for treat my body like shit.
Hell yeah,
so,
as you should.
Men, we are men.
Yeah, yes. Live in our own filth. So that's how it goes. As always, hey, it's been fun. We'll check back with you next week. As always, we're brought to you by My New Philly, where something's always new and everything's always Philly. Keep it easy, Philly. We'll check back with you next week. Have a great one. Yeah, go Union, boys.
Do 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 do.